Well, good evening, everybody. This is the April 23rd Making Sense Project webinar for educators. We're excited to have you here with us tonight as we dig in and have a jam-packed agenda. My name is Hillary Hunt. I am the director of the Making Sense Project, and our agenda today includes an overview of the Making Sense Project, just real quick. Then we're going to do a very fast speed session, 6 and 60, where I will cover six financial education resources in less than 60 minutes. We'll talk about some of our upcoming webinars that you can participate in and some additional opportunities. In the end, I will give you a link where you can go and complete the evaluation and submit for Act 48 hours. The Making Sense Project is a partnership between the Pennsylvania Department of Education and Penn State University. It's my pleasure to thank our project partners, Sally Flaherty, Social Studies Advisor at PDE, and Dr. Kathy Bowen, Professor at Penn State. This is just one component of an overall series of financial literacy and economic education initiatives. These webinars are, and I'd encourage you to check out some of the other things that we do as well. The purpose of these webinars is really sort of threefold. We try to enhance content knowledge, highlight financial literacy resources, and share professional information. In the past, we've tried to do sort of all three of those in one webinar. We've adjusted things this time so that we're doing a little bit shorter sessions, make them a little bit more manageable and easier for folks to log on, and really focusing sort of more on one topic on each one. Except this time you get 6 different financial education resources. So that leads me to financial education resources 6 and 60. We are going to, or I am going to try and get through an introduction, and it truly is an introduction to 6 great relatively new, some of them brand new, financial education resources that I think you might be interested in. Now, I will not be able to give you all the details on every single one. This is not an in-depth deep dive by any means. This is absolutely an overview or an intro or, a quick sampling of each one. The intent is for you to just become aware of them and then go back on your own time and explore the ones that seems like they caught your eye. Perhaps it will be all 6, perhaps there will just be one. It's totally up to you. I like to joke that sometimes, this is, sort of a dizzying period or time of year. April is Financial Literacy Month across the country, and so there's all sorts of resources coming out. It can be hard any time of year, but especially in April, I find, to sort of keep track. It sort of, makes your head spin with how many things are available. So that is why we're here, to try and make your lives easier so that you don't have to go out and find all of these. We're just going to do a quick and dirty run through so that you can go back and spend the time digging into the ones that you want to pay attention to. We are focusing in on 6 different financial literacy resources today. The first one is going to come from CFPB, their youth financial education resources. Then we're going to talk about Fastlane, the high school financial planning program, which is new and improved, Napkin Finance, Finlet Forms, and 2 cents. So those are going to be the ones that we focus on today. I will talk fast, and I know some of you might wonder, are these handouts going to be available afterwards? Yes, they are. So after this session, I will be updating the website with a link to this PDF or PDF of this PowerPoint so that you can grab all of the names and links and what have you there. So as you're taking notes, feel free to skip over the stuff that's on the screen because you can grab that later if you'd like. All right, with that said, we are going to dive in to resource number 1. All right, resource number 1 of 6 comes from CFPB, which is short for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. This is an agency in Washington, D.C., set up through legislation that is focused on protecting consumers when it comes to their finances. Financial education is a big part of what they do. They have resources for individuals, for just general consumers, specific target audiences, and in this case, we're going to focus in directly on their youth financial education resources. Now, they do also have resources for parents, but we are going to focus primarily, or really solely today, on the ones that are available for educators. Some of these have been around for a while, and some of them are new. So I'm going to share a little bit of each of them. If you don't mind, just to get a sense of how familiar folks on the line are with these, if you can find the raise your hand tool and raise it if you have seen the youth financial education resources from CFPB before. So if you haven't, no need to raise your hand. If you have seen them before, click on that raise your hand button. Okay, so I'm only seeing a couple of handfuls, literally just a couple. So this is going to be pretty new to each of you, or to most of the folks on the line. That's good. Gives me a good temperature check of sort of who's in the room and where to go. Okay, so the financial resources for youth from CFPB are based on some research that they've done and commissioned, and some work around what are the building blocks of financial literacy. So in order for an adult to be financially literate, or to have what they often refer to at CFPB as financial well-being, three things need to occur. They need to have executive function. Now, this really actually has nothing concretely or overtly to do with finances or handling your money. It's about the mental capacity to do things like plan ahead, remember information, multitask, do more than one thing at once, solve problems, and control your impulses. And so that is a very basic building block that they've identified of financial literacy. If a child is too young to control their impulses, it's very unlikely, for example, that you're going to get that child to, embrace savings, for example. So some of those are really some more psychological. And then building on those are financial habits and norms. So those are the values, standards, routine practices, and rules to live by that you use to navigate your daily financial activities. Then finally, the other building block is financial knowledge and decision making. So these come along with, with different concepts, as well as competency in being able to research and do analysis. So, these are sort of the higher, deeper levels. One could almost, in some ways, kind of draw, some parallels, I think, to, sort of the hierarchy of needs, right? If you dig back into some of your education classes from your. But anyhow, so all of their financial literacy resources connect back to these building blocks in some way, shape, or form, and we'll see a little bit of that here as we move forward. So if you go to the website that I have listed there, I broke it up on two lines, but it's the consumerfinance.gov/practitioner-resources/youth-financial-education/. So you'll find these, if you scroll down, you'll find different resources and tools for educators. So here if we go to teach the building blocks, we find a variety of different tools, but this one I think is particularly interesting. They actually have three of these, one for elementary, one for middle, and one for high school students. These documents are both 2 pages long, so you're only seeing the front page of each of these, but you'll see what this goes to is more the pedagogy, right? Sort of some of the how-tos of teaching personal finance. And you'll recognize, I think, the executive function, financial habits and norms, financial knowledge and decision-making skills being those building blocks, right? And so underneath each of them, we have what to watch for a student to demonstrate that they're doing those types of things, as well as how we as educators can help them to develop these skills. Now, they have a variety of resources in their toolkit for teachers. They have, for example, a list of these different skills that you can use and literally sort of check the box to see if you are noticing that students are mastering each of those. So lots of different things around those building blocks. And then one of the things that they've recently released, and so far it is only for high school students. My understanding is that they are releasing more down the road for other grades, but they have free classroom activities. And so if you go to that section, you'll find the ability to search for a classroom activity. Now, what I really like about these is, you'll see there's 63 of them right now, again, all for the high school level. I would argue that quite a few of these you could probably drop down to middle school. It's kind of up to you and what your students are capable of. But I think quite a few of them could work very well if you tailored them for the middle school audience as well. A lot of these lessons are very highly tied to some of the core subject areas. So I want to show you an example here. This is an activity called Writing a Personal Savings Statement. And you see here, using the strategies of expository writing, students create a personal savings statement sharing their personal beliefs about saving money. And so what I think is interesting, so they've aligned it to the Council for Economic Education and Jumpstart standards, but really expository writing is certainly also tied to the Common Core standards for writing as well. So here you see what we're asking students to do. Write a topic sentence that presents their values or ideas related to saving money. Write and organize at least 3 supporting sentences that broaden and deepen the points made in their topic sentence. And write a concluding sentence that summarizes key points or revisits ideas from the topic sentence. So again, I know that this is, on their site, keyed in at high school. They indicate an age range here of 13 to 19. This could absolutely be used and even modified for use in a middle school ELA classroom or to reinforce those ELA skills. So I encourage you, if you're looking for additional ways, especially ways to maybe strengthen or boost what you're doing in your financial education course, for example, and make stronger connections to the the core standards for ELA, math, what have you. This might be a great tool to look towards. There are other lessons that or activities that don't align so much there, but again, with 63 of them, there's a little bit of something for everyone. And again, you can sort by subject, you can dig in by topic. There's lots of different ways to organize and search and filter those resources. One of the tool that comes with this, they provide, since in particular, perhaps, if you're using this, a lot of the folks that we get on these webinars, primarily teach personal finance, either in business, family, consumer science, math, social studies. You may not be ELA teachers, so one of the things that I think is nice here is they provide you with a scoring rubric for this that gives you some recommendations on how to score this, especially sort of from the ELA side of things. There's also then a student handout, 2 pages there that they can use, and this is an interactive PDF that students can type in. So you could send that out depending on what program or LMS you're using. Then there's some additional resources. You'll see here more information about the full developmental model and those building blocks that we talked about before. They have a great curriculum review tool. So if you're looking at financial education curriculum and wondering, what's good, what's bad, they have a nice interactive tool that you can use, as well as some additional research and resources, as well as print materials that you're welcome to purchase or to request free of charge from CFPB. So lots of different resources there. Again, this is the quick overview version. Hopefully I piqued your interest enough for you to go back later and dig in and take a look around. So that brings us to resource number 2. Okay, I wish I had sound effects here. Maybe in a future webinar. All right, so resource number 2 is Fastlane, and this one is brand spanking new. This one was launched just before, or at the end of March, I guess, in preparation for for April and Financial Literacy or Financial Education Month. This is, and you see the website down at the bottom, it is fastlane-education.org. So you can check this one out, bookmark it. It is brought to us from the folks at what we call here in financial literacy world GFLEC. You know, there's an acronym and a nickname for everything. So GFLEC stands for the Global Financial Literacy Excellence Center. It is out of George Washington University and headed up by Professor Dr. Anna Maria Lusardi, who's a fantastic researcher in the field of financial education, known for studies and reports that she's led both here in the U.S. and internationally. GFLEC received support financially from PwC, which some of you might know is PricewaterhouseCoopers, one of the largest accounting firms, and so is a big supporter of financial education. So this is a neat website and has kind of some different tools than you might have seen available in the past for financial education. One of the things that I think is really neat about it is that it tailors the resources depending on what audience you're a part of. So 6 key audiences for Fastlane. Teachers, probably everybody in the room, so to speak, parents and guardians, which some of you might be wearing 2 hats on that one, students themselves, community members, school administrators, and policymakers. So there is literally something here for everyone, right, around financial education for young people. So depending on which role or what you're interested in, you would select one of these 6. And then it asks you, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to learn why it's smart to be smart about money, why I should advocate, how can I educate myself, for example. And now this is all, by the way, right now, the ones I'm looking at, this is actually what it would look like for a student that was logged in. But and then how to connect with others. So this is going to look different. Step 2 looks different depending on which one you selected here in the first step. So there's sort of, it's kind of a choose your own adventure, right? Many of you remember those books. So if I were to go in as an educator, here are some of the things that you can do. Join the conversation. So a new forum that you can join and or log into to have some conversations about finances and financial education. Now, something that you'll be hearing a little bit more about as we go forward with some of the things that we're bringing on here in Pennsylvania, is we're actually doing some of this sort of on a smaller scale. This is really the national community of financial educators, but we've recently launched a Making Sense PA. We've had a page on Facebook for a long time, but we actually recently created a private group. So if you're on Facebook, we'd encourage you to join us over there as well, and some other things that'll be coming out. But the more the merrier. I always think that it's, the more opportunities there are to engage, the better it is for our community. They're going to be offering webinars. Now, these webinars have not really ramped up yet, but they're planning to offer ones on topics around financial education in schools and at home, about how to advocate for financial education, which I know many of you want to do at your local levels, what works in the teaching of financial education and research. So this, I think, will be a great resource to follow as well. The only webinar that they have posted right now is one that is archived, and that is an introduction to the Fastlane, as a resource. So if this is something that you are want to follow up on, watching this webinar might be a great place to start. This is something I think that is really cool on this resource. They have pulled together a database of funding opportunities, so ways that you might be able to kickstart or expand your financial education program with some funding that may be available. And then this networking database. So another way to connect with groups that might be like-minded financial education enthusiasts. So lots of different pieces there. Now, we mentioned before that one of the 6 audiences are school administrators. And again, I know some of you are interested in advocating on behalf of financial education with perhaps school administrators. If you have a conversation with an administrator that seems like, you know, they're completely gung-ho and on board with all of this and would like to dive in with, you know, with both feet, encourage them to check this out. There's some interesting and neat resources that are really you know, geared towards the administrator sort of lens. So one of the things I think is fantastic. I really like this graphic that they put together, this road to financial literacy, where they've identified, you know, a starting line where no financial education concepts are taught at the local high school, and then moved up to different mile markers where the finish line is personal finance courses. At least a semester's worth are required for all students. Courses are evaluated and improvements are made when necessary. So, you know, that's sort of the finish line flag there, with various points along the way. Again, sort of jumping forward, in May, we're going to be doing a webinar in our series on the status of personal finance in education here in Pennsylvania. I'm really excited for that. At that point, fingers and toes crossed, we will have launched a map, an interactive map, where you'll be able to, it's kind of like, it's based on Google Maps, so you can scroll down and zoom in and look at every single school district here in Pennsylvania. Click on it and up will pop whether or not they are, we found them to be offering a course, requiring a course in personal finance for graduation, if maybe that course is, or that content is embedded within another course. So it really is the first you know, really good way that we've ever been able to look at, you know, what everybody's doing across the state. So you'll be able to look at your school district. If something needs to be updated, there's a way to provide us with that information. And then you'll also be able to look at any other surrounding ones. That's a question that we get a lot, is sort of who's doing what. And that'll come out as well with a full report that's going to the legislature on the status of economic and financial education. So it dovetails really nicely, I think, with what GFLEC and Fastlane has done. Okay, so that brings us to resource number 3. This one is what some folks might consider kind of an oldie but goodie. I don't know. So I'm going to lower folks' hands now. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to do that raise your hand thing again. If you are familiar and have used the NEFI High School Financial Planning Program, raise your hand. Okay, yep, definitely lots more on this one than the previous question. Okay, and so yeah, around 20% of you guys. Okay, so about the same as this afternoon session. So I'll spend just a little bit of background for those of you, since a lot of you, this might be new entirely. So the High School Financial Planning Program comes to us from the folks at the National Endowment for Financial Education. Now, why is that important? So the National Endowment for Financial Education is a group out of Colorado that is fully funded, i.e. endowed, and fully self-funded, I guess, is the key there. They take no money from any financial institutions or companies or anything like that. So their materials are really, you know, guaranteed to be bias-free, which I think, you know, a lot of people in the world of financial literacy, you know, find to be very important. So they have had this high school financial planning program out for decades. It has gone through multiple iterations. They are firm believers in evaluating their program. You know, that finish line of the Fastlane map there. So on a regular basis, they evaluate it, they look at what needs to be improved, what can be done better, and they do that. So their program is divided into 6 modules. and is available completely free of charge, and has recently, just in January, gone through a big update. And so here are some of the highlights. So there's a new download feature. I'm going to show that to you in a moment. You can still, as always, with Nefi, and this is one of the things that makes it really popular, request free printed materials. So it used to be that there was like one big thick student workbook. Those went away a number of years ago and were replaced with 6 individual workbooks, one for each module of their program. And so that provided some more flexibility. So if teachers say, hey, I really only teach these three modules, they weren't, ordering the whole thing and things going to waste. So what's great about this, one of the things I think is fantastic is NAEP recognizes that lots of schools and teachers have different resource constraints. So, maybe I know when I taught, I had a copy count, right? I could only copy print so many pieces of paper, use so much kind of thing. So with this, they'll send it to you no charge. You say, hey, I have 135 students this semester, they'll send you 135 copies. I've got 140 next semester, they'll send you another 340. So that's how they work. No questions asked. They just ask that you let them know with enough time that they can get it to you. So that is still there. That hasn't gone away. What is new is that they have this whole fantastic access for students to be able to get all of the information without having to log in, and it can very easily be assigned or shared through Google Classroom, or just by sharing the URL with students. So that has made it a lot easier for teachers who are in a Google Classroom environment to utilize these materials. I know lots of folks were sort of finding ways around it, but we know that that causes extra work. So there's also now there's some great ways that you can bookmark resources and lesson pages, and you can go back and find those when you log out as an educator, which I want to mention. So the educator login is required, and it's a verified educator login. So it's not like the sort of thing where as soon as you put in your email, you automatically get on. You wait until a staff member there in Colorado takes a look and says, okay, you are who you say you are. We're going to give you the keys to the kingdom, or in this case, the answer keys to the kingdom. Keeps students from having access to the assessments. And gives them access to the student side, and you the access you need on the educator side. So I know a lot of teachers think that that's an important piece. They also launched an interactive budget wizard, which I'm not going to show you today, but that might be something that you want to go back and take a look at. Okay, so let's take a look inside. So this is the new student page. So when students go to high school financial planning or hsfpp.org and click on the students tab, this is what they're going to find. They'll be able to select the lesson that they are focused on. There are 6 modules. Each of them have roughly 4, 5, 6 individual lessons associated with them. And so wherever you are in your curriculum, students could go and follow along. So, maybe you still want to get the hard copy booklets. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're, fully embracing the online classroom. You can do everything. You can sort of pick and choose. Here, if students went to the rights and responsibility, lesson 2-4 under borrowing, you can see here that it gives them the introduction. You'll see that Google Classroom and the bookmark link up there on the top right-hand side. They can download the lesson pack, the student guidebook, and or the lesson slide handout, which is basically like the 3-to-a-page PowerPoint in PDF form. So these still look the same. On the left-hand side, that's going back, that's that lesson pack. So if you download this, that's the student learning plan. So it has the information of of what students would have, but you don't have to print it or do anything there. And then on the right-hand side is the electronic version of the print packet. So this is that student guidebook. This is what it looks like. If you were to get it printed, it would be sort of half sheet of paper size, folded over and in a booklet form, or you can download and find it there in the PDF. One of the things I think is really neat on the student page for each lesson, it gives them some additional opportunities to learn more, some related resources, and then I think this is great, some talking points for parents. So if a parent logs in or goes to the site with their student, I know a lot of parents sort of learn along with their high schooler. They can certainly do that here and access, these informations, gives them some suggestions for having some of those conversations with their student. Mentioned before, this is another upgrade or change to the website, so made it even easier for teachers to download the materials that they want. So you get the entire high school financial planning program up there at the top, or you can go through, and just get one module or a couple modules, or you can expand that even more and just get specific lessons, and then download the ones that you've selected. So very easy from the teacher side. All right, so we are halfway through, which is great. I'm doing well on time. I'm keeping an eye on that. And we are now at resource number 4. By the way, if you haven't had a chance yet on the Zoom webinar chat, feel free to go over there and introduce yourself to the others that are on the line. We have the option to select all panelists and attendees. That'll make sure everybody that's on can see who else is there. Feel free to have a sidebar conversation if you'd like with anybody whose name you recognize. I think it's a kind of a nice opportunity to see who else is in the room, so to speak. So, okay, are we ready for resource number 4? Number 4 is Napkin Finance. All right, so Napkin Finance is kind of self-explanatory. It's finance information on a napkin, right? So, there's this whole notion, and there's like a book that somebody wrote about how much information can fit, on an index card. In this case, it's, like how much can you fit on a, on a cocktail napkin, or I don't know, dinner napkin, whatever size it might be. These are all electronic. But anyhow, they're just sort of quick and easy visuals that explain sometimes a more complicated concept, or in some cases an easy concept. I know this print might be a little bit small for you. So in this case, it's the bull or bear market, the what, how the stock market is doing. They have that nice visual there that the bull market shows the horns on the bull are rising or going up, just like stocks would be, or the price of stocks would be in a bull market. You guys at home can't see my bull horn impression that I'm doing over here at my desk, but anyhow, the bull is raising its horn and stocks are rising. The bear market, on the other hand, they're coming down on their prey. Stocks are falling in a bear market. It provides what the economy is doing, expanding or contracting, what employment's doing on either side, and the average length, 9 years for a bull market, 1 year for a bear market. And then on this one, there's a quick saying underneath, old Wall Street saying about greed: bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered. It might be an interesting thing to have students try and think through what that means. On the website, napkinfinance.com, if you click on any of these napkins, you'll get, in addition to the graphic, you'll get additional information about that specific topic as well. You can search on the website for a topic up in the top right-hand corner, or you can just browse through. They have them on all different topics. Here we see investing, liability, building credit, improving credit, prepaid cards, FICO scores, all sorts of different topics. And in addition, if you wanted to, you can go up to the top there and search by life events. So, things that aren't necessarily topic, but more time of life oriented. And over in the top right-hand corner, I just want to point out they're on quite a few social channels. So, your students, for example, a lot of your students, I'm sure, are using Instagram. Maybe encourage them to follow Napkin Finance, something quick and easy that they can do. Also, depending on the students that you teach, you might be interested in the Spanish site. for those that have or for whom Spanish is their first language. So again, just a really neat resource. I think, having students look at it, maybe talk it through, maybe explain something to one another, maybe you can look at sort of things, like develop your own napkin, show them a couple of others, have them create their own, either digitally or, hey, give them an actual napkin. Let them figure out what they would put on it to boil down a complex concept. Speaking of boiling it down and showing it, they have these different videos. So it shows here there's 31 videos. The ones that are live, that say live after it, actually kind of build the napkin, shows it drawing things on as it goes, which I think is kind of fun. Some of the others, like what is the stock market, is sort of more tutorialish or expository sort of teaching kind of thing. So anyhow, if this is not a resource that you've checked out before, I would encourage you to do it. You can use it, like I said, as an assignment. You could use it to introduce a concept, or just, I happen to be a highly visual learner, so words on a page, lots of words don't resonate very well with me. I love things like this. I love infographics and anything where it's visually appealing for me. It increases the stickiness factor. So just something for you to consider. Okay, whew. We're plugging right along. Resource number 5. Okay, now the rest of those all were like national. Great resources for anybody out there in financial literacy world. This one is for all of us here in Pennsylvania and Pennsylvania only. It is called the FinLit Forums. This is a new effort brought to us by agencies here in Pennsylvania, led by the Pennsylvania Department of Banking and Securities, with support from the Pennsylvania Insurance Department, as well as the PHIA, the Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency, and the Office of Attorney General. So these organizations or agencies and others have come together with an interest in being able to come to you. So they are willing to do roadshows, basically, and offer a conference-style program in your location or near your location. So these are designed for high school and college students in order to provide them with critical financial knowledge to be successful in the next stages of their lives. If you're already teaching this, and I know lots of you are, you might say, well, but I already teach all of this. I like to always remind folks that, sometimes it's like my own children. Sometimes they take the advice of others, just because there's somebody different. So in this case, what you might say the same exact thing, but if you bring in, the expert, it sort of adds a little bit of extra cachet or credence to what they're saying. Or perhaps you teach an elective or you only see some students. This might be something that you want to consider as kind of more of a larger scale effort with all the students in your school, perhaps, or all the students in a grade, whatever that might be. They offer a variety of topics and formats, so very flexible in how this program is offered. So you see here 6 different topics that might be included. If you say, hey, you know what, I really don't need this, but I'd really like something, is there somebody that you have on your team that would be willing to come and talk about that? Ask them about that. I think this is sort of the starting off point. And then it's a totally customizable format. So if you have one big room like the gym and you want to set up, chairs and bring everybody in there, great. If you'd prefer to use classrooms and do it more breakout style, that's going to work just as well. So they're going to flex and work with what you have the ability to do. Here's 2 examples of some FinLit forums that they conducted. One, we saw the photos there from Lansdale Catholic. One group, all in the school gym, 125 students. They had 90 mandatory business students with a homework assignment, and they brought in 5 different speakers on 5 different topics. Refreshments were served in the cafeteria. At Pennsylvania College of Technology, they did a group rotation where they had 120 students from 9 different different high schools that came in and rotated through with 4 speakers on different topics in different rooms, and they were able to arrange for a complimentary lunch for the students at a restaurant. If you wish to schedule a Finlit forum in your location or ask questions, you are encouraged, or I encourage you to reach out to Katrina Boyer. Katrina is at the Pennsylvania Department of Banking and Securities in their consumer division. Her number is there, as well as her email address. You can let her know that you heard about the Finlit forum on the Making Sense PA website, or on the Making Sense PA webinar, and ask her about some of those options of bringing them to you. They are already scheduling for fall, so if this is something that you would be interested in, reach out, see what's involved, see what the possibilities might be to bring somebody out to your location. All right, boy, we are flying through this hour. I think I've got enough time. We're good for resource number 6. Are we ready? All right, this one, I gotta admit, it shouldn't be my favorite, but it probably is. I love these videos. So this is called 2 Cents, and they come from PBS. So it is a PBS show or series, now in its 2nd season, and really they are short videos. They're anywhere from 4 to 7 minutes ish each, on a whole wide variety of topics. So the ones that you see here are from season 2, some of the most recent ones. I want to just sort of a word of caution, I guess. These are designed for a general public. I think they're kind of, I would say, sort of millennial focused, but certainly the vast majority of them are completely appropriate for use in a high school setting, and even a lot of them in a middle or possibly even elementary school setting. As with any resource or video that you would share, you're all great educators. I know it goes without saying that you're going to watch it all the way through from start to finish for yourself to make sure everything there, that you're okay with all the content. You see, for example, over in the bottom right-hand corner, one of their recent shows is, should I invest in cannabis? So it's a legitimate question nowadays, whether or not it's appropriate for your students. That, I will leave to you to determine. So this is, as I mentioned, they've got 2 seasons. This is just some of their videos from season 1. Do kids need to learn about money? Is it even possible to save for retirement? Top 5 biggest financial scams. Should you break up with your bank? Lots of great ones here. This budgeting basics. They're just tons of different topics. So I want to spend a minute and share this video with you. This one is about 6 minutes long.
Cheaters, grifters, con artists, flim-flammers, hucksters, scammers, mountebanks. There are as many financial frauds as there are names for the people who perpetrate them. But here are 5 of the most popular methods of parting a victim from their money, and how you can protect yourself.
In 1920, Charles Ponzi had an amazing investment opportunity for New Englanders, guaranteeing a 50% return in just 45 days on something having to do with mail order coupons. Incredible? Try unbelievable. There actually were no returns. Ponzi was just using new investment dollars to pay back the previous investors. Eventually, the scheme fell apart. Ponzi ended up owing $7 million and spent 14 years in jail.
Ever since then, anytime a money manager uses new investments to pay returns on previous investments, it's known as a Ponzi scheme. The most famous example was perpetrated by Bernie Madoff, who ran a high-level Ponzi scheme for 20 years that bilked investors out of somewhere between $10 and $20 billion, with a B.
Before accepting an investment opportunity, you should look up a broker's background and complaint history on FINRA's brokercheck.org, and you can request written evidence that the investment professional is a sworn fiduciary.
A close cousin to the Ponzi scheme is the pyramid scheme. Say someone offers you a no-fail way to make money just by joining their organization for a $100 fee. Your job is then to find new recruits who each pay you their $100 sign-up fee, 10% of which you give to the person who signed you up. If you manage to sign up 10 people, you just made $900 from your $100 investment. And if each of those 10 people finds 10 people, you get another $900 for doing absolutely nothing, and so on and so on.
Like a Ponzi scheme, there is no actual investment. All returns come from finding new investors, and when those run out, the whole thing collapses, leaving the people at the bottom of the pyramid with nothing.
This may sound a bit like a multi-level marketing company, but in a landmark 1979 ruling, the Federal Trade Commission decided that Amway was not a pyramid scheme because distributors did actually have to sell products to make money. If a business seems to stress recruitment over sales, that may be a red flag. So before getting involved in an MLM, ask your contact for information on the success ratios of new members and how the company makes its profits.
Made infamous in movies like Boiler Room and Wolf of Wall Street, the pump and dump scam is when an organization artificially inflates the value of a stock that they already own a lot of, usually by aggressive cold calling, spam emails, and sometimes even fake news reports. When enough suckers have bought in, the scammer sells all their shares at the inflated price, sending the price tumbling back down and wiping out most people's investments.
Getting rich quick on the stock market is incredibly rare. If someone tells you they have a hot stock tip or they know what the next big thing is going to be, ask yourself why they would share this valuable information with you.
Imagine getting a phone call from the IRS informing you that you owe additional taxes that must be paid immediately or a warrant will go out for your arrest. Maybe they even tell you that police are already en route to your house, but it can be all cleared up with a quick wire transfer of $1,000.
Many people are so rattled by a phone call like this and so confused by tax laws that they'd rather go along with it than risk making the IRS angry. But there are certain things the IRS will never do. They will never contact you by phone or email first. You'll always get a letter. They will never demand payment in a specific form, and they will never threaten to have local law enforcement arrest you for not complying. If you get this phone call and are feeling uncertain, you should just call the IRS directly to check if the request is real.
Hello, Mr. Olson. This is Joyce from your state bank. I'm calling because we suspect an unauthorized transaction on your account.
Oh no!
Before we continue, I just need some information to verify that I'm speaking to the real Philip Olson.
Sure, my birthday is my social security number is and my mother's maiden name is How's that?
I mean, yeah, that'll do.
Hello? Hello?
Sometimes the easiest way for a scammer to get your personal info is to just call you up and ask for it. They might already know some things about you, like your address or your bank, and just need you to fill in the blanks under the guise of confirming your identity.
The digital version of this is known as phishing, where the scammer sends out emails disguised to look like they're from trusted sources. These emails typically contain a link that brings the victim to an imposter website, where they're asked to enter account details like passwords or credit card numbers.
Whether it's a phone call or an email or a text message, you should never give your information to someone who contacts you. It's always safer to contact the company yourself by calling their official phone number or navigating to their website directly.
Typically, if an individual or organization is on the level, they won't have any problem with you verifying their identity or looking into their track record. They should welcome it.
And of course, we'd all love to get rich overnight, and scammers know it. The best defense is remembering the old adage, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
And that's our 2 cents. Do you have first-hand experience with financial frauds? Are there any others we didn't talk about that you think people should be aware of? Sound off in the comments.
All right, so that was, gotta pause.
We got 171 days.
So that was 2 cents, one of the initial videos, or one of the videos that you can download there. One of the things I wanted to mention, sometimes navigating their site is a little bit tricky, but if you go down to the more episodes, and you can select which season you want to see. So for example, if you go to season 2, you're going to see a couple of them shown, and then you would go to more episodes. It will show you there's really only 4 here right now under season 2, but if we go back to season 1, you'll see there were many different episodes released. And so just taking a look at some of these topics here, like I said, some of them I think are more apt or more appropriate for different audiences than others. Some of them I think will are sort of seamlessly fit into your curriculum. So for example, budgeting basics, or the one that we just did on financial scams. Others are kind of different and unique topics. So for example, I like this one over here. What is the cost of pet ownership? That's a great one. There's a couple of this Insta Everything. I like that one as well. Actually, I like all of them. Who am I kidding? But that one has to do with sort of the trade-offs that people make, and how people are deciding to do things like spend money on, they use the example of Instacart, where you get your groceries delivered. They give the example of someplace where you can search online and find a goat that will come and eat your weeds, and that all of these little purchases can really add up. But then also putting that in contrast to, well, if the trade-off is you spend X number of dollars or you earn X number of dollars, are you getting a net benefit, or is it a loss? So is it considered a luxury? It gets into some nice financial concepts as well. So again, I love these resources. I think they're really well done, and certainly could be used. If you flip your classroom, if you have students, watch one of these and as homework, and then come back and discuss them, or however you choose to do them, integrate them, to kick off a lesson, or whatever form or fashion that you choose. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have managed to hit 6 resources in 60 minutes. I'm excited that we made it through. I have a few more things to share with you before we go. The first of those is that we have more webinars still coming up. So, we're doing some things a little bit differently this year. We always try and, sort of reevaluate ourselves, what's going well and what's going not. A lot of the feedback we'd gotten before was that, the webinars were great, but a lot of times in the middle of the year, you're just kind of, going and going and going. It's hard to interject new things. So we've changed things up. We're doing things at the end of the school year this year, so that hopefully over the summer, when you have a chance to breathe, you don't lose track of these. You can, spend some time and think about, sort of purposeful integration next year is the goal with this. So the next one coming up is next Tuesday. I'll see you back here at 3 or 7 p.m. for a curriculum deep dive, where we'll be taking a look at Pathway to Financial Success, which is a new curriculum from Discovery Education and Discover Financial Services. On May 14th, we'll be back again with a little bit more. So that Discovery Pathway to Financial Success is a middle high school audience. The children's books more focused at the elementary school level. May 21st, we'll be back to talk about the status of financial education in PA and beyond. And then we have 2 more coming up still in June. All of these details can be found on our website, makingsensepa.org, under the Learn and Webinars tab. In addition, I want to mention a couple of other opportunities that we have out there right now. We are starting tomorrow, midnight tonight, however you want to look at it, our very first online book study. So this is exciting. Truth be told, I thought we would launch this in late April, and few of you diehards might sign up and be interested, and we have over 60 people signed up for this first section. So it's my first time teaching in Canvas. For those of you that are signed up, I hope you bear with me as we work out the kinks. I was kind of thinking I would do this with a small group that, wouldn't embarrass myself in front of too big of an audience, but hey, we'll roll with that. I'm excited that everybody's come out for it. We're going to be reading week by week. This first week, starting tomorrow, know, we have 30 pages to read, or roughly, in chapters 1 through 3, and answering a question for each of those, or intro through chapter 3. So a total of 4 questions to be answered by the end of next Wednesday. Each week, you read those chapters, answer the questions for each chapter, or one question for each chapter. We give you a couple to choose from. You have another week then to go back and see what other folks in the class or the online book study said, and respond to their comments. If you answer all 20 questions and post 2 short replies on others for each of those 20, you will earn 20 free Act 48 hours. Anybody who qualifies for that initial set of 20 hours then has the opportunity to do an additional culminating activity. We're going to offer several different options that'll look very different, and people can pick and choose which one they want to do. But that will be worth an additional 10 hours for those folks, again, who successfully complete the book study. It's not too late if folks really, really want to get in on this April 24th session, or I would highly encourage you to think about the June 17th start date. Both of them, same format, 6 weeks, same questions. We post them. You get the questions for the following week, a week in advance. So people that signed up, actually, they got the questions as soon as they did for this first week, so hopefully everybody's prepared. But I'm excited about that. I've been joined by Fred LaPointe, who's been a presenter here on Making Sense PA webinars before. He'll be co-facilitating this with me, and did a great job helping to prepare some of the prompts, a lot of the prompts and questions for this book study. The one other piece I wanted to mention before we go is that we are currently seeking financial literacy ambassadors. We are looking to bring together a team of educators who have a passion for financial education, offering them a modest stipend from Penn State. All I need is a cover letter and a resume sent to me by April 29th. You can find more information on our website, and download the sort of the scope of work and what we're looking for and what's involved. I think we have 6 or 7 folks that have already applied, so I'm really excited. And I'll be chatting with everyone that's applied in the next couple of weeks and making some selections here very soon. We're hoping to get some geographic representation so that folks can work with educators in their local areas to help support financial education, and also doing things online, like helping to support these webinars, doing some small group professional learning communities, which is one of the focus one of our June webinars that we'll be having, and some other neat and exciting stuff that we have planned. So if this sounds like something that you would be interested in doing, I would encourage you to reach out. Send your information along. If you have questions, don't hesitate to let me know. So with that, I think we are at exactly the 1 hour. Whew, I could take a breath here in a minute, but thank you for participating. It's been a lot of fun. I'm glad that you chose to spend an hour of your evening with us. I know you could have chosen to be many other places or doing many other things, and I appreciate that you chose to spend your time here with us tonight.